What if I told you you could delete anger from your system the same way you delete a file? No flare-ups, no reactions, just silence, just control. That's not some fantasy, it's real power. But they don't want you to know that. They need you emotional, reactive, predictable, easy to provoke. Because the moment you stop getting angry, the moment you stop caring in the way they expect, you become dangerous. And nothing scares weak people more than someone they can't move. Let me be clear. You weren't born to flinch. You weren't built to explode. You were trained to think anger is strength, but it's not. It's a trap, a leash, something they pull when they want to see you dance. And every time you give in, you're confirming exactly what they believe, that they own you emotionally. But you're here now, which means some part of you already knows that silence can hit harder than shouting, that walking away can destroy egos more than fists. That calm isn't passive, it's tactical. So, here's what I want from you. Type this in the comments now. And again, when this hits home later, my emotions serve me. I don't serve them. Say it. Let it echo. Let it be the code that rewrites your mind. Because after today, you're done being predictable. You're done being controlled. This is the moment you switch frames from emotional to untouchable. This is modern Stoicism. And now we begin. 1. The lie they taught you about anger. 500 words. They told you that anger was power, that yelling made you strong, that standing up and shouting back proved you had a backbone. But they lied. They fed you that myth because they needed you to stay reactive, because reactive people are predictable, and predictable people are easy to manipulate. Look closely. Every time you got angry, who really won? You felt momentary release, sure, but what came next? Regret, damage, weakness. You broke your composure, lost control, and gave them exactly what they wanted, a clear view of your emotional buttons, and the ones who watched you lose it, they took notes. That's how control works. That's how power works. It doesn't scream, it watches, it waits, and when the time is right, it strikes in silence. You think anger makes you powerful? Let me ask you this. Does a lion roar every time a fly lands on it? Number. The lion knows its strength isn't in the noise, it's in restraint. It's in knowing that it can end everything around it, but it chooses not to. That's power. Real, terrifying power. The kind that doesn't flinch, doesn't react, doesn't need to prove anything. The calm man, the one who doesn't raise his voice, who listens more than he speaks. He controls the room, he owns the dynamic. And the loud ones, they reveal their hand with every word they shout. You were never taught to stay calm because calm people can't be controlled. That's the truth. They don't tell you that because if you ever became emotionally independent, you'd stop chasing validation. You'd stop being baited. You'd stop being useful to their system. They need you reactive. They need you weak. So they painted your rage as heroic. They told you it meant you cared. They were wrong. Caring isn't shouting. Caring is control. It's discipline. It's knowing that nothing deserves your peace unless you choose to give it. From now on, when someone tries to provoke you, ask yourself, are they trying to win? Or are they trying to pull you into a fight they already control? Because if you react, it's not your fight anymore. It's theirs. You've lost before it even begins. So burn this into your mental code. Anger is a trap disguised as a weapon. Say it, comment it, make it your mantra. Because until you master that, you'll always be someone else's puppet. This isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about controlling them so no one else ever does. And that is the first step toward becoming untouchable. 2. The enemy isn't them. It's your frame. 400 words. You keep thinking the enemy is them, the rude stranger, the manipulative boss, the disrespectful friend. But none of them have real power, not unless you enter their frame. Understand this. The battlefield isn't out there, it's in here. The real war is for your attention and your reaction. The moment you step into someone else's emotional frame, you've lost. It doesn't matter if you win the argument. It doesn't matter if you yell louder or prove your point. The second you accept their invitation to play their game, you've already forfeited control. And the people who understand this, they don't try to win arguments. They control frames. That's next level. That's psychological warfare. A man who owns the frame doesn't need to speak much. He doesn't get offended easily. Why? Because he knows this simple truth. Offense is taken, not given. When you operate from a weak frame, you get pulled by every insult, every slight, every emotional flicker. You become a puppet, not a strategist. But when your frame is internal, rooted in purpose, identity, and calm, nothing touches you. People try to provoke, mock, disrespect, and you just stare. Not because you're weak, but because they don't deserve your energy. They don't have access to your emotions. That's frame mastery. And here's the part they won't teach you. You don't need to fight for respect. You command it by refusing to be moved. Every time you react to nonsense, you dilute your presence. But when you stay unmoved, calm, clear, composed, people notice. They may not say it, but they feel it. This one's different. This one's not programmable. That's the beginning of power. Comment this right now if you feel it deep. I own my frame. No one enters unless I allow it. Let that be your filter, your fortress. Because the minute you master your frame, they lose control of you forever. 3. Reactions are currency. Stop spending yours cheaply. 400 words. Every reaction you give is a form of currency. And most people, they're broke, not financially, but psychologically. They spend their reactions like pennies, throwing them at every minor offense, every provocation, every piece of noise. But high-value individuals, the ones who truly run the game, they don't react cheap. Their silence is expensive, their attention is earned, and their emotions off-limits to anything unworthy. You want power? Start treating your reactions like gold, rare, measured, purposeful. You see, weak people are predictable because they react to everything. They argue in traffic, snap at strangers, get emotionally hijacked by comments on a screen. They're not responding, they're leaking. And those leaks are signs of internal poverty. The more emotionally wealthy you are, the less you need to prove it, the less you respond. Because when your inner world is controlled, the outer world becomes irrelevant. Let me give it to you straight. Most people aren't trying to communicate. They're trying to fish for your energy. They want a reaction. They need it, because attention is validation. And when you give it to them, even in anger, even in correction, you're feeding them. That's why the masters don't react. Not out of weakness, but out of superiority. When someone throws bait, they don't bite. They observe. They calculate. And if they respond, it's precise, cold, and effective. Not emotional, not impulsive. Start tracking your emotional spending. Every reaction should cost something. Ask yourself, does this person deserve my response? Does this moment deserve my energy? And if the answer is no, walk away richer. Comment this now and anchor it into your nervous system. My reactions are valuable. I spend them with intention. That's the mindset that flips the entire power dynamic. You don't owe the world your energy. You choose where it flows. And when you stop reacting to everything, the world starts reacting to you. 4. Control the pause. Master the moment before you respond. There is a moment, razor-thin, almost invisible, between what happens to you and how you respond. That moment is everything. That's the pause. And if you can master the pause, you can master your entire life. Most people, they skip it. Something happens, they explode. They feel insulted, they react. They hear bad news, they spiral. No space between trigger and response. No thought, no control. just blind reaction. That's how weak men live. That's how predictable minds destroy themselves. But you're not here to be predictable. You're here to be unreachable. The pause is where your power lives. It's the split second where your old programming wants to scream, but your new discipline chooses silence. That silence isn't empty. It's full of calculation. It's you deciding, is this worth it? Is this bait? Who gains if I react? And often the answer is, not you. So you stay quiet. Not because you're scared, but because you're sharpening your edge. You're letting them wonder. You're forcing them to speak first, expose their hand, reveal their weakness. Because in silence, the real game begins. When you control the pause, you control perception. People don't know what you're thinking, and that terrifies them. They lean in, they doubt themselves, they second guess. That's leverage. That's dominance. The loudest one loses composure. The calmest one holds command. Every great strategist in history knew this. Power isn't in the strike, it's in the timing of the strike. So next time someone disrespects you, take the pause. Look at them. Say nothing. Think, what do I gain by reacting? And then decide, with purpose. Comment this now if you understand. My pause is my power. I choose when and how to respond. That's what makes you untouchable. You don't just react, you orchestrate. That pause, that's the moment you become the one who writes the ending. 5. Silence isn't weakness, it's a weapon. They told you silence was weakness, that staying quiet meant you were scared, passive, or submissive. But that's what they want you to believe, because if you ever understood what silence truly is, a weapon sharper than any insult, more explosive than any reaction, you'd become uncontrollable. You'd become a problem. Silence isn't retreat, it's precision. It's what happens when a mind has leveled up so far beyond noise that it doesn't even acknowledge it anymore. Weak men fill silence with noise to feel important. Strong men create silence to control space. Think of every power move you've ever seen. The CEO who lets the room go quiet before speaking. The killer who walks away without a word. The commander who gives no explanation. That's not indecision. That's psychological warfare. Because silence forces the other side to face themselves. Their guilt, their insecurity, their lack of control. They want your reaction to feel balanced, to feel justified. When you stay quiet, you leave them alone with their own echo, and that echo destroys them. Words are tools, but silence? Silence is dominance. It's discomfort. It's the unspoken truth that you don't need to explain yourself, that you've already decided, that nothing they say matters enough to touch your internal world. People hate silence because it exposes them, it creates pressure, it makes them squirm. That's why it's effective. So next time you feel the urge to respond, don't. Let the silence speak for you. Let them chase you into speaking, and then don't give them what they're looking for. Watch what happens. The dynamic flips. They lose certainty. You gain control. Comment this and let it root deep in your mind. Silence is my sharpest blade. I cut without speaking. Remember this. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. When you stay calm, your energy becomes louder. And when you master silence, the whole room listens when you finally decide to break it. 6. Detach emotionally. Observe without absorbing. You don't need to feel everything. That's the first lie they taught you, that being human means being emotionally available to everyone and everything. But emotional exposure is not strength, it's vulnerability. And if you want to become untouchable, you must learn the discipline of detachment. You must observe everything, absorb nothing. Think of it like standing in a storm. The wind howls, the world shakes. But you're rooted, untouched. You see the chaos, but you don't become it. Most people internalize every slight, every look, every tone of voice. They walk around carrying weight that isn't even theirs. That's emotional slavery. They let strangers rent space in their minds, unpaid. They confuse empathy with surrender. But detachment isn't apathy, it's clarity. It means you feel, but you don't flinch. You notice, but you don't kneel. You hear the insult, but it echoes off the steel walls of your inner fortress. Because you've decided, no one gets in without permission. This is your edge. You feel less so, you can see more. You pull yourself out of the emotional whirlpool and become the observer. While others drown in feelings, you read the current. You track patterns. You act without contamination. That's how elite minds operate. They don't get pulled into drama. They study it like chess. Cool, detached, calculated. Start training yourself. When something triggers you, zoom out. See it like a movie. Ask yourself, what's the emotional bait here? Who benefits if I react? The answer will always point to this truth. Emotional control is tactical power. Comment this below if you're done carrying weight that doesn't belong to you. I observe everything, absorb nothing. That's the discipline. That's the armor. Emotional detachment isn't cold, it's sovereign. And once you become the master of your own emotional gate, no storm, no person, no insult can reach you without your consent. 7. They feed off reaction, starve them with indifference. Understand this. Not everyone wants peace. Some people thrive on chaos. They need your anger to feel significant. Your frustration is their fuel. Your attention is their validation. These aren't just toxic people, they're emotional parasites. And what do parasites need to survive? A host. That host is your reaction. You stop reacting, you starve them. They shrink, they fade, they lose access to your power. Indifference isn't just protection, it's punishment. You see, some people don't care if your response is positive or negative, as long as you respond. Because response equals relevance. Even your anger is a form of attention. And the moment you realize this, you gain an edge most people will never touch. You stop feeding every troll. You stop trying to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop being baited by cheap words and broken people. And instead, you weaponize indifference. Indifference is not weakness. It's the strongest play on the board. Because when they can't get a rise out of you, they panic, they lose control, they start revealing more, trying harder, until they expose their own insecurity. That's when you know you've already won. Not because you fought back, but because you didn't need to. You want real revenge? Don't react, don't chase, don't even flinch, just outlast. Keep moving, keep building, let them talk, let them try, let them starve, because you've chosen to become emotionally unavailable to anything that doesn't grow you. Write this in the comments if you're ready to become unreachable. My indifference is their starvation. Make them feel the absence of your reaction like a void they can't fill. Because once you've learned to weaponize silence, detachment, and indifference, you become something far more dangerous than emotional. You become unshakable. Section 8. Calm is a strategy, not a mood. Most people think calm is a feeling, something that comes and goes like weather. But for the powerful, calm isn't a mood. It's a strategy. It's a choice. It's a controlled environment built inside the mind, maintained like a fortress. And the reason you stay calm isn't because life is easy. It's because you refuse to give chaos a seat at your table. You don't react because you don't have time to waste. You don't scream because your voice is reserved for precision. Calm is your armor. Calm is your sharpest blade. People who live in chaos will try to mock your calm. They'll say you're emotionless, detached, robotic. But what they really mean is they can't control you. They can't shake you. And that terrifies them. Calm men move different. They walk into noise like it's silence. They speak less, but when they do, people lean in. Calm doesn't mean soft. Calm means ready, ready to act, ready to cut ties, ready to walk away without flinching. So stop waiting to feel calm. You become calm by building discipline, by owning your mornings, by deciding what deserves your attention, by mastering your inner war before the world throws anything at you. Comment this right now if you're done flinching. Calm is my strategy. I lead, I never chase. Remember, emotion is a battlefield, but calm is the high ground. Section 9. When you become untouchable, they call you cold. Let them. The moment you stop reacting, they'll start labeling you. Cold, arrogant, heartless. Why? Because they can't access you anymore. Because their old tricks don't work. Because you've unplugged from the emotional games that used to drain you, and when someone loses control of you, their ego must explain it, so they call you names. Let them. You weren't put here to be liked. You were built to lead, to stand still while the world trembles, to walk alone if that's what it takes to remain whole. Let them misunderstand you. Let them twist your silence into distance. Let them call your calm a weakness. You don't owe the world softness. You owe yourself peace. You've seen what overgiving gets you. Drained. You've seen what over-explaining does. Nothing. So now, you move different. You speak when it matters. You listen with intent. You protect your energy like gold, because it is. And if the price of peace is being called cold, so be it. You're not here for approval. You're here for clarity, for purpose, for results. And you finally realized being untouchable isn't about being emotionless. It's about being unavailable to nonsense. Comment this one final time before we close. Call me cold. I call it control. Because once you stop explaining, defending, reacting, you're not just powerful, you're untouchable. Section 10. The untouchable mind. Final code of power. This is where it ends, and where your new life begins. No more emotional currency wasted on fools. No more reactions given to chaos. No more explaining your peace to people addicted to noise. You've built something rare now. A mind that doesn't flinch. A frame that doesn't bend. A soul that doesn't bleed for attention. That's what makes you dangerous. You don't move unless it's strategic. You don't speak unless it's sharp. You don't feel the need to be understood, because you understand yourself. This is your final code. Control your mind, or someone else will. Let that sentence sink in. You've burned the old version of yourself, the one who overreacted, overthought, overexplained. What's left is lean, cold, tactical. You walk into rooms knowing your presence is louder than any noise. You operate on one principle now, internal power over external approval. And the world? It will notice, it will adjust, it will submit, not because you forced it, but because you stopped chasing it. So repeat this one last time in the comments. Seal it, own it, anchor it deep. I am untouchable because I control my mind. And if this hit you hard, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. Tomorrow we go even deeper. Remember, calm is strategy. Silence is power. Detachment is clarity. And your mind is your weapon.